And today's edition will be different from, issues around financial inclusion, education, enlightenment, literacy, financial literacy, and others around, entrepreneurship development in Nigeria. But first and foremost, our first segment discussion is centered on financial inclusion, particularly in the area of educating and enlightening Nigerians on how best we can unlock wealth through financial engagement and the rest of that. So joining me on the show today is not that person than Innocent Ifere, who will be joining us to highlight some of the issues in this regard. But before then, let's take a background view on the issue of financial inclusion in Nigeria as regards to inclusive financial education, key strategies to unlock financial wealth, as well as innovation to grow Nigerian economy via financial literacy, which is very key in today's Nigerian economy, which need financial education. Its informal economy is still large, with millions of Nigerians relying on cash-based, unstructured financial practice. Women and youth are still disproportionately excluded, and small businesses, despite being the backbone of the economy, struggling to access affordable credit and many more. However, the financial landscape is changing, with digital financial services coming as transforming Nigerian and how we can manage money, although with adoption remain inconsistent. Fintech and innovation are also opening up new opportunities to serve the undeserved, but regulation and consumer protection need to be adopted alongside these changes. On the rising aspect of climate finances and alternative credit scoring are also embedded in financial presentation of today's global economy, with opportunities to expand meaningful inclusion, whereby inclusive financial education is very key to economic participation, resilience and upward mobility, as the case may be. It is also a platform to empower Nigerians, especially women and small business owners and rural community, with not just financial products, but pathway to build with managing risks and contributing to national economic growth, as you can see. And this is why inclusive financial education and literacy is very, very important, and it's also evolving. And the challenge is how to connect financial inclusion with real sustainable economic impact. And how can we support opportunities for individuals to manage, grow, and protect their money? More so, what strategy can we put in place to ensure that all, especially undeserved, can access affordable and useful financial products such as bank account, credit investment, and insurance? And lastly, how can we make it simple for our people to understand inflation, interest rate, budgeting, borrowing, and investing their money in where it will bring profit to them? Joining me on the show today is Innocent Ifere, financial and ICT expert, CEO of Rain Flex Co. East Digital System. Will be joining me on the show shortly so that we can extract the importance, the imperative of financial literacy and the education of it in the larger spectrum for Nigerian economy and Nigerian environment. Will be joining me shortly on the show today. And one of the key aspects of it is that we need to understand how all this work to bring about a better economy for Nigeria. So let's join Vincent Ifere. Vincent, a very good day to you. All right. I think I need to hear you very well. Maybe your audio is not too loud as well.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I think it's clear and loud right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right now. So let's get rolling on the issue today. What is your assessment of the financial environment of Nigeria? Although it's a straight-jacketed question, but we need to understand from your own view the financial environment of Nigeria. How have you been viewing it? How have you been seeing it so far as it has been on?
Okay, so when we're looking at the assessment of finance in the environment of Nigeria, it's paradoxical in a way. One hand we're seeing explosive growth in the digital financial services, but then on the middle end and lower classes, you can still see that businesses are struggling. Companies, small scale businesses are, still suffering to raise capital and all those things. So it all depends on how we're trying to view the financial environment in Nigeria. Especially when it comes to the digital finance, there's a lot of growth happening right now as to things that are on the lower scale, like I said, small scale businesses. But there's a huge growth happening right now, and it's very impressive nonetheless. But there's still a gap that lies between, people growing their finances, businesses, and all of that.
Now, talking about people growing their finances and the likes that we are trying to look into, and that's the reason why we are putting on this discussion with you, who is someone who is very experienced and understanding how all this work. But from your own angle, from what you said so far, I discovered that from your analysis and illustration, there's a gap. In your own understanding, what has really bring about this gap between the informal and informal sector, whereby raising capital in the formal sector is quite very, very interesting, it is easy, it's quite laudable, but when it comes to the informal sector, they are lagging behind. From your own experience, what is the real challenge there?
Education, orientation, and availability of information. So you see, the less people know, the less they have opportunity to actually explore. So you see, like you said, the informal and formal sector. I'm believing that when you say informal sector, you're referring to the mid-range, small-scale businesses and your regular trader selling things in Aba or your market woman selling things on the road. In comparison to people who are in more or less in the financial sector, we're talking fintechs and likes of them. You see, now the problem here is these two people would vary financially because of information. One person does not have full access to understanding how to multiply, how to explore other financial opportunities, unlike the people in the formal sector. So the gap that lies there is information and education. And one of the major things that causes that gap is there is not enough awareness and orientation when it comes to financial know-how in the country.
Now, talking about financial know-how, and that's the essence of this, advocacy via the market report on ADBN today, because ADBN has been doing a lot in that regard, and market report has also been pushing this media advocacy in the right direction in terms of financial literacy and economic expansion, understanding how it works. So, from your own understanding, what do you think we can do to take leverage of financial education literacy, which is very, very key, as you pointed out in your response? Just some.
Sorry, I didn't get your question again.
What I'm trying to ask is this: what do you think we can do to expand this knowledge? You get it? The ADBN market report is doing its own bit, other TV stations, but beyond that, what else can we do to expand this knowledge and bring it to the table of people who really need it, particularly in the informal sector?
Well, you see, the one way we can tackle one of these things, like I said, is orientation. See, the access to information, like I said, is poor. So it can, there are two ways you can go about it. You can start from the grassroots, or you can meet people where they already are. And one of the ways you can do it is to first, encourage more financial, literacy in schools, especially for, from high school, which is secondary school, to university levels. You can start to teach basic financial literacy to people, help them understand the reasons why there's a need for them to understand how to grow income, how to keep income, how to explore the opportunities, how to grow a business. And we see it. It's not like they are not present currently, but it's not in the quantity as though that it would make a massive impact. But like they say, growth is a step-by-step process. So kudos to Nigeria as a whole, kudos to the government, where they are constantly putting in the efforts to do these things. But if we can see an explosiveness in it, that would help. Another thing is also to partner with some of these rising fintech companies, financial companies. You see, let's take for instance the foreign exchange market, forex, digital forex is on the rise presently in this country. We can partner, even the government can partner with some of these people to help educate people, create seminars, orientation camps, and all of these things would really, really help to actually expose people. Another thing that's going to be very helpful, and we're already seeing it happening, is actually using some of these policies to actually help educate people. Like now, people are starting to see that there's a need for them to actually understand how taxes work. A lot of people in this country didn't understand how taxes work, if not until the present tax bill that has been passed by the GCFR himself, the president of Nigeria. A lot of people didn't know anything about taxes. They didn't even know they were paying VAT. So you see, some of these things are knowledge that need to be taught and passed down to people, not just only when you're in finance class or you're in economics classes. So there's a need for modern financial literacy to be taught from the grassroots and even created as orientation passes for people who are already in the business world.
Exactly. Now, no, as we are discussing now, you have been mentioned on some technicality that we need to break down for our people to understand, because one of the key goal of discussion like this is to ensure that we break it down and simplify it. One thing I know that many Nigerians will be up to ask us is that, what are the benefits of this financial literacy, inclusive financial education that we're talking about? For a woman that is roasting corn on the side of the road or the corner of the street, or for a guy that is selling okrika down there at Nyanya or any part of Abuja or any part of the country. So what are the benefits? When we bring this to them, what are they going to gain, specifically from your own point of view?
First thing is mental exposure. You see, to grow finance first comes from your mindset. There's always a shift in the mindset. That's one of the things that helps the billionaires and multimillionaires you see to explore opportunities to invest and actually grow their income and raise more capital. You see, the difference between the people in the formal sector or people who are well aware and well educated or literate about finances is they take better risk than the regular person selling okrika. The regular person selling okrika, when you go to meet him, he's going to tell you, he just needs maybe 100,000 naira as capital to probably buy 1 or 2 bills. He's not thinking further. He does not have enough knowledge to know that if he does 1 or 2 things, it would grow his business better and faster. Another thing here is these people on the road think that they need only one source of income to survive. There's no there's no expansion mindset, there's no exploration mindset. And the truth about it is, in order to grow your finances and to build wealth, you need to explore the opportunities. So if they actually key in to understand the need for financial literacy, it exposes them to understanding that, okay, you need to make money, you need to invest, you need to save, you need to take risk, not just focus on one business. Nobody ever became a billionaire from just focusing on one thing. At some point in time, you make a huge sum from here, and then you have to expand. So financial literacy is going to help them understand the need for them to save money, invest money, and also explore the opportunities. And like I said, first of all is mental exposure. Once they get that, it's up from there.
Talking about mental exposure, one of the key things the Nigerian government have been able to address from the youth population who are quite digitally skillful, right now, is that they have been able to introduce them to the Nigerian capital market, whereby digital value is now gaining momentum. Just like you rightly pointed out, the Nigerian capital market, where digital asset is now gaining serious attention. But from your own assessment so far, since the passing of the NSIA, National Security Investment Act, that was passed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just recently, which you and I are also privy to have gone through some of the clauses in it. But from your own understanding, how is this really getting the traction from our Nigerian youth?
Well, you see, the Nigerian Security and Investment Act of 2025 was well aware when the whole bill was being stated out with the new DG coming into power of the Security and Exchange Commission, and I'm very glad that it was signed by His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. It's a game changer, first of all, and I have to mention that. You see, digital assets was already something that was a part and parcel of the Nigerian youth. If I'm to be honest, I would say about 60 to 65% of Nigerian youths were already participating in digital assets up until I think 2021, before there was a ban that was placed on it. But you see now, digital assets, and when we talk about digital assets, I need people to also understand that we're talking about things like tokenized assets. We're talking about crypto, and all these little digital things that we do online that a lot of youths participate in. But now people do not see the opportunities that exist within that industry. But now with this bill being passed, it helps, and it also brings the government in tune with the VSAPs. And now once the government is in tune with it, it simply means that the whole country now is going to be aware of it, and the government is actively being partisan in promoting it. So that alone shows you that, like I said from the very start of the call, there is an input already that we are all doing one way or another, either from me and you or the government, constantly trying to, educate people, either formally or informally, but there's still room for more exposure, like I said. And I believe it's a huge opportunity for people who are going to key in. And I highly urge, every youth, not just the youths entirely, but even, our parents as well can grow to a point where they can, key into it. It's an opportunity.
It's a great opportunity in this regard, as you pointed out, because for the government, it's innovation to grow Nigeria economy. That's what the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is targeting. So it's a very good leverage and laudable platform. But from your own perspective, beyond digital asset and others that we have mentioned in your submission, what else can we do to ensure that this financial literacy education pave way for innovation to grow Nigerian economy?
Sorry, I didn't get the last part.
Okay, what I'm trying to ask you is that we have discussed the digital asset. We also made mention about the mental faculty of people who need to go through this financial education. But what else can we also bring in to ensure that we balance the education, literacy, and also ensure that it brings about innovation in our economy growth?
You see, I want to make something clear. When it comes to nation building is not a sole responsibility of the government. It is a responsibility of you and I. So every time you get an opportunity to give light to someone, it is an opportunity for you to build the nation. Exactly. So it is not necessarily having to wait for the government to do everything. If you have knowledge, no matter how little it is, and you wherever you find yourself, it is about you sharing that knowledge with each and every person you get. See, the problem is, there's a popular saying that I think I would say we have as Nigerians, is persuade you make money, no go show you how to make money. And it is a very bad thing to actually say, because at the end of the day, if it's good for everybody, it's good for the nation at large. So we don't necessarily have to wait for the government to take the lead to start, educating people in terms of financial literacy. We have multinational organizations in this country. We have a lot of fintechs that are into financial and even the VSAPs. We have a lot of real estate companies. We can take this initiative and actually go out to actually educate people, because the more people you educate, the more minds you open. The more minds you open, the more your business grows as a whole. So it's a win-win situation anyhow we choose to look at it.
Very interesting. I
That's
love
a very major way.
Vincent, I love what you just said. One of the passing words you made, that we need to show people how we make money. In your local pidgin, you said people know they show people how to make money, but here on the market report, we want to show people how they can make the money, as well as reduce the issue of poverty among Nigeria. But going forward into the discussion, you have made mention of the government, but we all know that government, most times their policy can a little bit very, very controversial in a way, but sometimes it could be pave way for more businesses, more growth. But from your own understanding, as someone has been an industry player so far in the financial industry, what would be your advice to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at this point in time regarding financial literacy and financial education for Nigeria?
What advice do I have for His Excellency President Ahmed Bola Tinubu? Is that your answer?
Yes, that's my question.
Okay, that's your question, rather.
Yeah.
My bad. Okay, so if there would be one advice I would want to give, it would be an inclusive financial literacy in the educational sector of the country. Now, why this is important, it doesn't necessarily have to even come from secondary school, but let's look at higher institution. I think that is one place where you spend 4 years of your life, and you can see the rate of unemployment in this country is high. Now, if you can start to expose people to financial literacy from that stage, it gives them an avenue to come into the should we call it into the sector, basically, into the job, the labor market, and not only start to focus on looking for jobs, but start to think of ideas that can grow them and build them. You see, a lot of wealthy people, rich people we see, aside, probably some of them were in the civil service or in the civil service and then grew out of the civil service having to, to create businesses. a lot of wealth generation comes from business creation and ideas. So this is one of the reason why financial inclusion is important, and I believe it should be taught, from schools. It should be included. It has to be inclusive, because once that is given, then ideas can grow, and then they also learn how to bring their ideas to life, and that would go a very long way.
All right. Now,
and also help the rate of poverty in the country.
Exactly. Now, something happened last week. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, through the Vice President Kashim Shettima, signed and inaugurated the National Credit Guarantee Company. Right now, it has now come to fruition that we now have a National Credit Guarantee Company that will be giving small money to small businesses. Now, a lot of Nigerians will say in the past, we have had different government agencies giving money to Nigerians, but we have not had the opportunity to say, okay, this is how much these agencies have been able to transform or give out to transform Nigeria economy. Bank of Industry is there, Bank of Agri is there, and now we're having a National Credit Guarantee also coming in. But from your own understanding, giving the money to Nigerians to do this business, why is it so hard for Nigerians to reciprocate after collecting that money and ensure that they use that money for the business that they have been given to do?
Your question brings us back to the whole point of this discussion. Like I said, if you are not exposed, then you don't have anything to work on. That's why I said it's all from the mind. Do you get? See, the how would I put it? The average person without sufficient financial knowledge thinks of when money comes in, they want to eat the money. So a lot you find out that some people, I won't say a lot, but some people go take these loans, and instead of them to become productive with these loans, they are not able to do it. Some people take these loans, might have the idea, but without the capacity and financial knowledge to actually grow this capital, invest this capital into businesses, and understand how to manage finance and manage these businesses, they would end up losing it. Because if you do not have sufficient knowledge on how to manage, then you would end up losing it. And that's why you see that, like you said, they cannot reciprocate. They go take this money and then they're on the run. So without you properly educating people and them having to learn these things, there's going to be a problem. You see, that's what that's why I said from the very beginning. So that's the gap, that's the discrepancy between the knowledge and the execution.
Now,
so once it's good.
Exactly. Before I let you go, Vincent, most of our youth that are watching us right now.
Innocent.
Innocent. Thank you for the correction.
Yes.
Most of our youth watching us right now will be looking at the opportunity that you have outlined from this financial inclusive education and what will come to them when they get this knowledge. But some will be looking at how are they going to start? Where will they start from? But someone like you, just share your experience briefly and advise them on how to even get the foundation and get rolling on this particular exercise that we have done through our discussion today.
Okay, so there's a popular saying that while growing up, my brothers used to say to me a lot, and it is, if you're not informed, you are deformed. And it is the idea that deformation first starts from the brain, starts from your mind. So a lot of people, worried about how to take the first step. I would say when I graduated from school, I already had like an idea of, what I wanted to do. Not necessarily because I was wholly taught, but because I was in search for knowledge. That's why I say I'm big on, saying that there's a need for people to be oriented. There's a need for people to be taught some of these things. When you go in search of knowledge exposes you. It opens your mind to see opportunities. It's not about knowing. The problem where they have to say, oh, they don't know how to start, it is because they don't have prior knowledge. When you start learning, it would open doors for you. Your mind just opens up and you start to see opportunities even in places where others don't see it. And that is what differentiates people who are building an empire and people who are sitting and waiting for the government to feed them an empire. You get? So my one advice is going to be stop sitting down and waiting for the government to automatically just send money to you. That's not the responsibility of the government. you're also enacted with that responsibility to first fend for yourself and go in search of that knowledge. And at the same time, it's baby steps. You don't have to know what the next 10 steps are going to look like. Take the first one. It all starts from that first one. And no matter how many times you fail at that thing, it all boils down to you going to do it again, and eventually success is going to be yours.
Exactly.
There's no one who tried so many times and failed forever.
Exactly. Innocent, I can't thank you enough with this your brilliant submission and quite simplify enlightenment in the area of inclusive financial education and literacy for Nigeria. And I know many of our Nigerian youth who have watched us or who will get to get our video on our streaming as well as other social media will watch you and see how simplified you have made it. And also, you are a very young person who have experienced so much in the area of financial inclusion. They will definitely get one or two understanding of this. So I really appreciate you for coming on the show. Hopefully, I know you are quite busy, but definitely we'll call you back to come and share more of your insights on financial inclusion, and not to forget digital assets in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
All right now. So have a great day ahead.
You too.